Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to Picture Book Drama, where it is everything in entertainment, and welcome to my review of Preacher on AMC. Okay guys, this is going to be my review, a spoiler-filled review of the premiere pilot episode of Preacher on AMC. Anybody that's read comic books, especially DC Comics, knows that Preacher is one of the most successful Vertigo comics to come out of the DC Vertigo line. And probably next to Constantine, the only one I think that actually hit that flavor right. And actually, as I'm doing this, I got a little squirrel here, so hold on. I want you to see him. All right. Anyway, I did just watched the premiere of Preacher. It's such a gorgeous day here in Chicago, Illinois right now, and I'm in the shade, so it's not that bad. It's probably about almost 90 degrees. It's May 31st, so hey, what the hell? I decided to go outside and do this review. But the reason why I love this review, or love this pilot, was because the flavor of the show was actually still there. It didn't cover anything up. It kept all the violence, all the grittiness in there, and you didn't have to worry about anything being taken away from it. You know, you got Dominic Cooper playing the preacher, Jesse Cutler, I believe. You know, now I don't know everybody's name, so I'm going to put them down here for you. The woman playing Tulip, the guy playing Cassidy, the guy playing Arseface. I mean, they had everybody in here. The flow in here was great. It took its time. They realized that, I'm not sure how many episodes this is, but I should start off by saying this is produced by Seth Rogen, who is not the best track record for superhero stuff, Green Hornet, but they really showed that they really took to heart what the comic was. I mean, this starts off where you're in Africa, you're in the middle of this congregation where a preacher is speaking before his congregation, I should say, talking about faith and being righteous and following the scripture and, you know, being virtuous. And you're also seeing in space, and actually the very first scene he says outer space, and you're seeing something flying around in outer space, going past, Saturn, the moon, heading towards Earth, and we don't know what this is. If you read the comics, you do, but I love the fact that they don't tell you what it is. You get to see this African preacher speaking before his congregation, and this force is coming through the door, the force that was going through outer space. It envelops him. And what ends up happening is he ends up getting imbued with what you think is this power. And he's talking about how he is the chosen one and how he's God's disciple. And just as he's saying that, he explodes all over everybody, covered everybody in blood, brain, everything. They come running out, and that's the opening of Preacher. Now, it comes back to where you're seeing a flashback of Jesse's dad, who also is a preacher, being put on his hands and knees, and you're not sure what's going on, and he's telling his son from Jesse's point of view, you need to fight. You need to be on the side of good. You need to make sure that this is being taken care of. And he's basically telling his son, do you understand? And his son's like, yes, I do. And then suddenly a gun goes off. Jesse wakes up in this modern day, and he's in Texas. He's at a very run-down church. He's a down-and-out preacher who drinks, smokes. You can see that he's not the best preacher they could have, but he's probably the only one they could get. But you also see that when he sets up, he has this long scar on his back, which, again, will be explained, not in this episode, but down the line. I mean, it's great flow, but it takes its time. And you still don't know what the hell's going on, but you're involved. You see that he talks before Jesse talking before his congregation. He's basically not even really into it. He's just kind of going through the motions. You see that the congregation he has are down and out people. One guy who's an older, middle-aged man, he's getting berated by his mother, who we don't ever see until the end. But it's like everything that he does or says, she belittles. She talks badly about him. It's seeing the different people that are around him, that you see how they affect him. There's a woman whose husband beats her, but she kind of likes it. but the son doesn't, and the son actually goes up to Jesse at the beginning of it and asks him to hurt his father, which you may have seen in a preview for Preacher. Just the dialogue in this, just the way they interact with each other is very realistic. You get to see Jesse interact with this kid, asking him, why would you want to hurt your dad? You know, it's a sin to ask this, you know. And he's like, well, I don't know if I can hurt him, but I can talk to him and try and help. We suddenly see, and again, I'm going to jump to another scene, which kind of is how the show is. The show jumps and we're on an airplane. We're seeing all these flight attendants sitting or standing around getting drunk, and they're laughing and having a good time. And one of them is a guy with an Irish accent. Looks a little weird, but you're like, okay, he fits in with everybody else. They're laughing, they're joking. He goes to the men's or to the bathroom, and as he is about to leave, he opens up a door and he sees a Holy Bible. And in that Holy Bible is a lot of different scribblings all over it. And as he turns each page, they're more and more and more intense, and in reds and blacks. Passages are circled, and you can see he knows what's going on. So he comes back out the bathroom, gets back with the guys. He's laughing, he's joking with them. And then suddenly he just goes ballistic. He starts ripping them apart. He's just beating them left and right. But here's the kicker. These guys start pulling out like swords and spears and big ass knives. And you're just like, what the hell's going on? He's just massacring these people. He's just, you know, fighting them as if he's inhuman. Catching on what I'm going with here? All of a sudden, the pilot comes out. He's got, you know, I believe a crossbow. And Jesse does the coolest thing I've seen, or not Jesse, but Cassie does the coolest thing. He takes a champagne bottle, breaks it, shoves it in the guy's chest. The guy's stuck up against the wall. Another guy comes up behind Cassidy, tries to take him out with holy water. And you see, he just stands there. He's just like, you guys just don't have a clue. Turns around and he bites the guy. If you know the Vertigo comic, Cassidy is a vampire. Well, he chomps the guy's neck, goes up to the guy who he speared against the wall, unpops the cork, pours blood out of the guy through the champagne bottle. It sounds gross, but it was a cool scene. And the plane is getting ready to crash. There's no one piloting it. Remember, the pilot now is speared against the wall. Jesse opens up the door. All this compression comes in, and as he's about to leave, he grabs an umbrella and then jumps out. He just a crazy character. And here's the thing, he can't fly. So the next time we see him, he's splattered up against the ground, and I mean, all his guts are splattered. You see entrails, everything. But he happens to land into a cow field where this one cow is standing over him, and he's just like, hey cow, how you doing? Asks the cow to come closer, and he attacks the cow, which gets him regenerated. Now the next character that we end up getting introduced to is through a flashback. We see this car flying down, and you suddenly see it from a distance. You're seeing gunfire go off. We quickly flash into the car, and it's a woman fighting these two men in a car. You know, and I mean, it's an all-out fight. They're going through this, I'm not sure if it's a cornfield or just tall grass, but they're fighting left or right. I mean, the fight goes into the back seat. This car's going all over the place. You can see it's zigzagging all over the place. She's trying to shoot him. She's trying to stab him. This guy's fighting her left or right. You know, almost to the point where he gets the best of her, and then they crash. She gets the best of him, killing him. She gets out. It's Tulip, who happens to be Jesse Cutler's ex-girlfriend. I'm not even going into all the depth on her. I want you guys to watch this. I want you to see what this is, but it is so fucking great. We see the different people in Jesse's town. They're the sheriff who asked Jesse for help with his son, and we're not sure what's going on. The sheriff is basically like, you know, my son needs to talk to you. He's lost his faith. He really needs to speak with you. When Jesse comes over to the sheriff's house, we see that the house is a nice, modern house. Not modern, but for Texas standard, you know, poor town, it is a nice place. Jesse's talking with the sheriff, and the sheriff starts taking like raw meat, throwing it into basically the blender called a bullet, with like some garlic, Tabasco, and all this other stuff, and he just blends it. But there's no dialogue at this point. He's just doing this, and they're just staring at each other. And what he does is he takes the bullet off, sticks a straw in it, hands it to Jesse, and tells him he's upstairs. He's ready. He's waiting for you. Again, you know the comic. You know who this is. But as Jesse slowly goes up the stairs, the audience doesn't know what to expect. Me, being a comic fan, I do. And they deliver. When they open that door, you see Arseface. And I forgot his real name, and I'm so upset about what his name is. It's not Arseface. That's what people call him. But you see this guy, and he's got like basically this pucker type face. He doesn't really have lips anymore. Everything almost looks like a vacuum sucked his face in. Jesse hands him the bullet, and the guy starts drinking it. Or I should say teenager. He's a teenager. And he just starts drinking it. It's basically tartar, but blended. He's nothing supernatural about the guy. But he's asking Jesse, hey, I want to go to church, but I don't want to be a distraction because of the way I look. And my dad really believes that if I go there, I'll be a distraction. And Jesse asks him, do you believe that? And he's like, well, no, I want to go to church, but my dad is very seldomly wrong. And Jesse basically just tells him, if you want to go to church, you are welcome in God's house. At that point, Arseface asks him, do you believe in God? I've been talking to God, all my life. He's always answered me. But lately, I've got it's nothing but quiet. And he asked him, does God, hold grudges? And I thought that was probably one of my favorite scenes in there with just two people talking. Because Jesse's like, no, God doesn't hold grudges. You are forgiven if you want to be forgiven. So we get back to Jesse in a bar now. Because remember, he's not a typical preacher. He drinks, he smokes, he has a past. Well, at one point, one of his congregation earlier on asked him, remember, the kid asked him, could you hurt my father? We don't know why. But while Jesse is in the bar, Cassidy comes in. He is sitting right next to him and starts drinking. But then he walks away. They just, Jesse doesn't want to have anything to do with him. He just wants to sit there and drink. But these 4 people dressed as Confederate soldiers come in. I think they're Confederate. Yeah, they're Confederate soldiers. Comes in. One of the guys happens to be the husband of the son, or be the father of the son who asked him to hurt him. Well, earlier on, I also mentioned that there was a wife in there who liked to be hurt. She actually enjoys it. Well, that wife and that kid are his family, and he doesn't like the fact that they went and talked to Jesse. So he punches him hard, knocks him to the ground. And Jesse just gets up, turns to him, and he's basically like, this is a stupid thing you're doing. And as the guys are about to swing on him again, he just cleans the floor with these guys. He beats the living shit out of them. And you can see there, as he do slow motion pans on his face, a smile starts to pop up on his face. The old Jesse is popping up, and he just wrecks the place. And as one guy's about to come up behind him and attack him, Cassidy throws a chair at him, knocking him down. The sheriff comes in and tells him it's over, let it go, and Jesse's like, hold on, it's not quite over yet. Breaks the guy's arm in a brutal fashion. The bone pops out. It's gory, it's great. But you gotta see this. And at this point, Jesse is arrested. He's in jail with Cassidy. He gets bailed out by one of his congregation who has been following him. She's with him. She knows him. His family knows him. They really want him to, to be all right. But he's like, I'm done. I quit. He goes to his church to ask God one final time to give him a sign. Nothing happens. He's like, I figured as much. Lights a cigarette, and suddenly the door starts swinging open. As those doors swing open, this force comes in. We don't see what it is. It looks almost like a mist or fog. And what happens is it's the same force that hit that African preacher in the beginning. Hits him, knocks him across the church. Next thing we see, Jesse wakes up with the woman who bailed him out sitting next to him. He's been out for 3 days. Cassidy found him. Cassidy and that woman found him. Put him in bed. Cassidy moved in upstairs above the church. And suddenly, Jesse is now able to... He's imbued with this power. We don't know what it is. Throughout the whole episode, you are seeing these 2 men who are traveling the world, following these phenomena that's going on. The phenomenon in Africa, as I mentioned earlier, where the preacher is imbued with this power, but it just overtakes him and he explodes. That's not the only place it happens. It happens in Russia. But wow, I did mention that Jesse was in the bar getting, drinking. Or, yeah, Jesse was in the bar drinking. The TV in the back says the best thing in there is Tom Cruise explodes. He's at a Scientology church and he just explodes. The same thing happens to him that happened to to the preacher in the beginning. So it's amazing what's going on in here. But the two guys, we don't know who they are. They're just, they show up in Africa, they show up in Russia. We know that there's something off, something not right. We don't know if they're good guys or bad guys. Yeah, we do. But they pop up at the end after Jesse gets the power, and in a very weirdly filmed scene, we see one guy sitting in the car drinking some tea. Then he takes his tea and he eats it. He eats a tea bag. So, I don't know. It's just great. I love this show. It leaves you wanting more, which is what any show should want. The guy who I told you earlier where his mother berates him, he basically tells him, go to your mother, open your heart to her, and don't be afraid, open your heart to her. Go watch it. It's amazing. It's creepy. It's scary what happens next. But that's pretty much where we ended. Well, actually, no. Jesse goes before his congregation. He's about to quit. We see Tulip and Cassie are in the church as well. And instead of quitting, he says, you know what? I'm going to be the best preacher you deserve. I am going to be that person there for you. I have failed you in the past. I won't fail you again. But I'm not going to give any more away. I want you guys to watch this. So please go watch the premiere of AMC's Preacher. You guys can watch it here on YouTube. Actually, they have it for free. Check it out. Hit me in that comment below. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Tumblr. I'm on Behance.net. Go see this. This is so great. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. I will be doing reviews on this entire series when it comes out. Not each episode. I'm going to wait for them all to come out and I'll just do it all at once. But talk to you guys later. Such a great day in Chicago.